Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh, yeah. Hello there and welcome. Well, the conventions are done. The campaign is on. This is where I start paying attention. We've got about, just 2 months before Americans go to the polls. And I think more than any other election I can think of in a gazillion years, the conventions themselves portrayed the stark difference between these two parties, their values, and the direction in which they would take the country. Hoping that Americans watched even a little bit, one would hope that more Americans would be drawn to the values that were put forward in the Democratic Convention. And guys, I just have to tell you, I was sort of watched the convention over the last 3 days and was stunned in a way at the repositioning of these two parties. I'm going to talk about the one thing that just kept hitting me between the eyes and astonishing me. In my life, I have watched umpteen conventions. And one thing that always permeated and defined a Republican convention was the militaristic aspect of those conventions. The intonation of all of the kinds of muscular America values, the constant mention of our soldiers and their sacrifice, their heroism, their bravery, blah, blah, blah. There was not a peep that I heard at the Republican convention about our soldiers. And if this were peacetime, I could maybe excuse that, understand it. But, and I understand why it's easy to forget, we are a nation at war. And we have been a nation at war almost for 12 years now. And for the Republicans to hold a convention when we are at war, when thousands and thousands of Americans in uniform are serving in incredibly dangerous places, risking their lives every day, for the Republicans, Mitt Romney, to not mention it, not mention it, let alone giving, a pat on the back and a thumbs up to those Americans carrying the flag over there in the horrors of Afghanistan. I was stunned by that. And so, watching the Democrats and seeing the emphasis placed on veterans, on soldiers, on standing with them, by them, doing the right thing by them, before, during, and after their service, it was astonishing. This was one of the realms that I could never conceive of the Republican Party ever abdicating to the Democrats. And yet they did. They didn't say boo. So, of the two parties, the one party who even acknowledged we are at war, we have to do the right thing by our soldiers, we have to thank them, that was the Democrats. It was not the Republicans. I mean, they not only failed to salute our troops, they failed to even talk about the fact that we're in a war. They failed to even suggest what we should do with that war. How to wrap it up. How to get out. What our mission there is. Didn't hear a peep. Amazing. As I watch these two conventions, the territory that used to be inhabited by the Republicans has been almost totally ceded to the Democrats. Veterans, foreign policy. You heard the Democrats speaking about the rest of the world, about foreign policy, about what we have done and what the president would have us do. You heard nary a peep from the Republicans. I'm not sure how the Republican Party defines itself now. Does it simply define itself as no more taxes? Is that it? It's been shrunk to that. That's all they are. Johnny One Notes. That's all they are. Caller, hello?
Hi, Lynn. This is Kristen from Greensburg. How are you?
Hi, Kristen.
I just wanted to call. I'm so excited about how our convention went. I think I almost forgot just how smart Bill Clinton was, and just how amazing he is, and Barack. Oh my gosh, everybody, Elizabeth Warren, they were all so amazing, and we were all so fired up. I don't think I've cheered so many times during political speeches in so long.
Right.
And it was really interesting, watching both conventions with my 10-year-old. He noticed that there weren't a lot of minorities in the Republican convention, and I pointed out, Puerto Rico's up front, and then when he watched the Democrat convention, he's like, the Democrats must let them sit wherever they want. And
No, the contrast,
You know,
the contrast, as I said, the contrast, and a 10-year-old would notice it too. The contrast, visually, as he noted, and certainly verbally, and in terms of the values espoused and what was important to those two crowds, it was startlingly stark.
Yeah, and this is something big. I know you've talked a lot about voting not just at the top of the ticket, but all the way down. What has been done to social services in Pennsylvania has hit people who work with people with disabilities again. Like the agency where I work is facing another layoff, and it's so horrible. But, in the private sector, my husband just got a really good job this week as an associate professor of psychiatry. Mm-hmm. So it's there's really good jobs out there, except for when the Republicans come in and mess it up, And,
well, it's true. I mean, and Bill Clinton did the numbers 2 nights ago. If you look at job creation under Republican,
to the teacher.
at Republican under Republican administrations and Democratic administrations, it's no contest. If you want jobs created, then you put Democrats in charge. If you want jobs destroyed and sent overseas, give the reins of our government to the Republicans.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that. Excuse me while I'm choking. Hey, thanks for the call, Kristen.
Okay, thank you. And you have a wonderful weekend there, okay?
You too.
All right,
Bye-bye. I guess the biggest takeaway, the difference between these two is that what permeated the Democratic convention and its speakers and its delegates was a sense of we can. A positive kind of a vibe. Don't count us out, as Biden said, don't bet against us. And you realize that what that Republican convention did was consistently seem to bet against us. It was doom. It was gloom. It was, we're a nation in unbelievable distress and decline. And of course, it's all Barack Obama's fault, whatever. It was so negative. It was so down. It was so depressing. And you could see that was a negative vibe there. Their conventioneers were dour, were sour, were negative. The only thing that seemed to rouse them was their animus toward Barack Obama whenever he was brought up. But there was nothing, they didn't even talk about what they would do, what their program was, what their plan was. Do they have one? Really amazing. And I think American political history will tell you that the party that is offering a positive, we can do it, that is conjuring up American can-do spirit, the very idea of what we like to think we are, that we have risen to challenges in the past, and that we are clearly rising to the challenges now. I thought it was incredible that speaker after speaker seemed to suggest, rather than looking at Americans as sort of like, unemployed, downtrodden, desperate people, instead they were looked at as extraordinarily resourceful, tough. They can get knocked down, but they come back. That resonated with that Democratic crowd. But Republicans, they don't think of the down and outers as much in terms of their abilities to come back. They think of them as lazy bums. I mean, anybody, you're down and out. You're not one of them anyway. I never seen nor felt such a stark choice. It was fascinating to me to see, the Democratic sign forward, and then to think of how the Republicans were saying we want to take our nation back. And that is, I don't think they realize that can, that can be spun a different way. You want to take our nation back? Yeah, like back to 1810? You want to take our nation backwards. The Democrats want to go forward. And it has been pointed out in your car that R in your car stands for reverse. The D in your car stands for forward. A little irony. James Carville, after watching it all, he was all excited. Because what he said is, he says, wow, the Democrats, he says, this is not the mommy party anymore. That was what the Democrats, the punditry used to think of the Democrats as the mommy party. Very sort of feminine, very concerned with, they weren't concerned with the macho, manly kinds of things that the Republicans were concerned about. The military, foreign policy, governance, our soldiers. And what he was saying is, wow, the Republicans simply gave it all up. And we have taken it up. So this was no mommy party anymore. Barack Obama last night, President Obama, stood there presidentially. His speech was presidential. And as he said at one point, which I thought was incredible in terms of contrast with him and Romney, I'm not a candidate. I'm the president. There's the power of incumbency. He spoke as a president, and he looked like a president. And he appealed to us in an adult way, like a father would tell their children, his children. This won't be easy, but we can do it. You can't snap your fingers and have it happen. It's not going to happen overnight. We're on the right path. We've got to keep going. You don't want to pull back now. We're moving forward. All the kinds of things that, sober. The kind of things an adult would say. The negativity of the Republicans, the abdication of whole swaths of policy concerns by the Republicans, simply stunning. I thought, because it's so important to me, one of the greatest things was, and here again the contrast, I have bemoaned the fact over maybe the last 20 years. I have said, have you noticed how we the people have had our citizenship sort of taken away, that we're not thought of as citizens, we're not appealed to by our government leaders as citizens. And my sense of that meaning as somebody who's got a, skin in the game, as somebody who has responsibilities to the whole, to something bigger than themselves. All I kept hearing from Republicans was that we were no longer citizens. I mean, they didn't flat out say that, but they never mentioned it. They never mentioned the values of it, the idea of it. They talked to us as consumers. And it was clear that in their America, the people as citizens is like a very silly kind of fairy tale-ish old-fashioned idea. Oh, no, we don't even want you voting. You just leave that to us. Us smarter, richer, powerful people. We'll handle the government. Your job is to spend money. Money you don't have. Your job is to consume. Consume. So of these two C words, we went from citizens to consumers. And when Barack Obama last night brought up citizenship as one of our great values that we need to return to, I was thrilled. He said there is something called citizenship, a word at the very heart of our founding, at the very essence of our democracy. The idea that this country only works when we accept certain obligations to one another and to future generations. You don't hear this talk at a Republican convention. Because they don't believe it. They don't believe in obligations to somebody they don't know. They believe in a Darwinian, strangely, for a party that ain't sure about evolution. They believe in a Darwinian kind of America. Law of the jungle. Survival of the fittest. Every man for himself. But our president, Barack Obama, said last night, here's what Democrats believe. We believe that when a CEO pays his auto workers enough to buy the cars they build, then the whole company does better. In fact, the whole country does better. We were talking about that just yesterday. So our president, Barack Obama, said last night, we, the people, recognize that we have responsibilities as well as rights, that our destinies are bound together. You don't hear that from Republicans. That a freedom which only asks what's in it for me, a freedom without a commitment to others, a freedom without love or charity or duty or patriotism is unworthy of our founding ideals, unworthy of those who died in their defense. You didn't hear such talk from the Republicans. Stark contrast. Incredibly stark contrast. Let me take a break. And when we come back, I'll share some more of my reactions, thoughts, and I would hope that you would do the same. The parties have presented themselves to the American people. The choice, as I said, is anyone who says this time around there's not a dime's worth of difference between the two is certifiably insane. The difference is clear. The battle is joined. We'll be back.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Pittsburgh City Paper is now available on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com to read this week's digital issue or search for restaurants, bars, concerts, events, and movies on any portable device. Plus blog, Lynn Cullen, City Guide, CPTV, and Best of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania, and on the web at pghcitypaper.com, and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
It takes 12 years to create a graduate. It takes about the same time to create a dropout. And at the end of the day, the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be you. So United Way is asking you to make a pledge. Tutor a child who needs help. Mentor a kid who needs someone on their side. Volunteer to read to children. Because when a child advances, we all advance. Be a reader, tutor, or mentor. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge now at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
All righty, welcome back. Some thoughts from some of you. This is Dorothea. Maybe I was tired of 2 weeks of convention speeches, but as much as I was captivated by Michelle Obama's speech and President Clinton's speech, my mind wandered during President Obama's, and I actually started flipping to other channels during Joe Biden's. President Obama's speech, as good as it was, might have had more punch if it had been delivered in the 75,000-seat stadium it originally was intended for. Yeah, that would have been something. But no, his speech was, not as good, I guess, on whatever scales you and whatever measures you employ as Clinton's and or Michelle's. But it was fine. And as I said, I think it was presidential. And there is a difference between somebody like a Mitt Romney who wants to be the president and a man who for 4 years has been the president, and the way in which they talk. And Obama, these are still sobering times. He's not much of a braggart, so he's not given to sort of touting his own accomplishments very well, which is something that I know throughout the years of his presidency has maddened me, that he doesn't sell his own self and his successes and his programs very well. Biden's speech? Odd. I mean, he's just classic Biden. What? I think it wasn't a great speech, and it wasn't well delivered. At one point, I thought, he was slurring his words a few times. I thought, has he been drinking? He clearly also had trouble with the teleprompter. Somebody who's good at a teleprompter, when they're looking at it, you don't realize that they're looking at it. Let's say they're looking at the one that's head on, and they're reading. If they're good at it, you don't see their eyes scanning. You don't see, they in fact look through those words and are looking at you. And that's not necessarily easy to do. And you see the ones who can. Clinton could. Michelle could. Those are great speeches when that happens. Biden was struggling sometimes in clearly reading. He's very emotional, so he tears up easily. I have to tell you, my reaction to his wife's introduction was I was queasy. I don't know. What is it about her that I don't get? I don't know. Just reacting. I'm a human being. I know she might be wondrous, but I just felt it was too gooey, and it just seemed too personal. And I know this is the America we live in now, but and then he gets up and says something like, he calls her kiddo, and I love you, kiddo, and blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, I don't want to, take get a room. Take it somewhere else. That I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable. I feel like I feel it's too personal for my taste. And now I know a lot of other people are, they love it because it shows that they're just regular people, and aren't they wonderful, and aren't they in love? But it's a little much for me. The slobbering love stuff and the biographical stuff. I mean, at what point can we not have to hear about the car accident and about this and about that? You know what I mean? At some point, you just want to say, or my dad, or this and that. I guess they know that most Americans don't remember this stuff, forget it, that you have to constantly reintroduce yourselves. I don't know. Biden got off a few good lines, I thought. He said, I found it fascinating last week when Governor Romney said that as president, he'd take a jobs tour. Well, with all his support for outsourcing, it's going to have to be a foreign trip. And I think, wasn't it Biden who said this? Oh, no, it was Kerry. Actually, Kerry, who I never think of as a great speaker, just eviscerated Romney on foreign policy. Eviscerated him. It was, woo, bloody. And so it was Kerry who said, hey, you ask Osama bin Laden if he's better off now than he was 4 years ago. And to see Kerry making fun of Romney's I was for it before I was against it, which was how they got at Kerry when he was a candidate. His so-called flip-flopping. He just went to town on that and then made some fun at his own expense, conjuring what they had done to him in regard to flip-flopping. There's no greater flip-flopper than Romney. And I believe another great Kerry line was something to the effect of, I got some advice for Mr. Romney before he debates President Obama. I think he better finish the debate he seems to be having with himself. Well, today I think this, and in 3 hours I'll think that, and if I get a little flack from, the media or from the right-wingers in the party, I'll switch over to that one. Whatever you want me to think, that's what I'm going to think. Something else, just a reaction. The president's daughters, how they're growing up, Sasha and Malia, and they both now are, they're more adolescents. They are, and with the awkwardness of adolescence, I especially noted it with Sasha, but the awfully cute. Cute, bright, and seemingly, who knows, good kids who you have to, really tip your hat to the Obamas for keeping those girls out of our sight and allowing them, I guess, as close to a normal childhood as they can conceivably have. That what I saw, there were two girls who looked exactly like girls their age should look, behaved exactly like girls their age should behave, wonderfully, awkwardly adolescent, cute, and normal. Good to see. Let's see. Diane says, Republicans believe in the Protestant ethic. The strong will survive. Is that the Protestant ethic? The strong will survive? Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? And to hell with the others. I always thought the Protestant ethic was hard work. That's what it always boiled down to for me. And they might say they believe in it, but I'll tell you who's working the hardest in this country. It's the people they don't want to go to the polls and vote. It's the poor, the working poor, who are holding down 2 and 3 jobs, no benefits, desperately just trying to do the right thing by their families, by their children, struggling against all the hurdles that get placed in their way by the likes of the Republicans, who don't seem to just believe it's everyone for themselves, but when I get mine, I'm going to make it harder for you to get yours. I find the Republicans absolutely shameless in that respect. As somebody who said, what? We got a caller? Hi, caller. Go ahead. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Lynn, how you doing?
Fine. Go ahead.
What I wanted to say is, what is with these Republicans that work? I can't understand anybody that works for a living voting Democrat. It doesn't make sense to me. And I see them on Facebook. I like Mitt Romney. It's like, when's the last time a Republican did anything for the middle class or the poor? Never. But they still keep voting them in. I don't get it. I like what Truman said about the voting like if you want to live like a Republican, you vote like a Democrat. I love that line.
It's so true.
Yes, it is.
It's so true.
Okay, have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
I think we all know that he meant to say Democrat. Right. Truman had it. That's a great line. Great line. It is the Democratic Party that has forever cared about giving people opportunity. And as speaker after speaker at the Democratic Convention said, it's not about giving them a handout. It's about giving them a shot. I believe that's how Biden put it. It's true. That's all they want is a shot. Don't create a system that I don't have a chance at getting out of. And that's, unfortunately, in large part what's been done in this country. Because our government has cared more about corporations and the rich than about the people, the workers, the citizens. And with this pollution of our political reality now, with the filthy lucre of the Republicans and their, I would say, often ungodly gains that they've gotten at the expense of the workers who produce and who labor. And now that being turned around and used against them. My concern about this election, I mean, I have absolutely little worry about the fact that most Americans will see that Barack Obama is the safer bet here and will give him more time to do what he wants. I think the Republican Party is being very out front about who they are, what they are, and what's important to them. And they have offered nothing to the American people. They have simply presented themselves as the party that says no. Wasn't there a great Monty Python skit about a bunch of knights or something, where the ones that just went, nyeh?
The knights who say nee, yeah.
The knights who say, nee?
Yeah.
And that's all they did is nee, nee? The knights who say nee. I think of the Republicans as that. They're the party that simply says no. 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 We won't. No. No. Offers nothing in return, but just no. Whatever it is, we're against it. That's them. Well, okay. I need to take a break. We'll be back.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Go to birdbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the Science Center, the History Museum, Carnegie Museums, and some of the best restaurants in Pittsburgh. This week, get 50% off tickets to the Pittsburgh Irish Festival. Birdbargains.com. Local deals, local merchants. Birdbargains.com.
Okay, how about it? Have you challenged yourself to considering helping somebody learn how to read? That would fit nicely into the democratic ideal of we're all in this together. And I already know this. Let me turn around and help you. I don't expect anything from you. I'm going to volunteer and do this because I know ultimately that more of our citizens who in fact can read and can get good jobs, it all accrues to the nation's benefit. It's kind of a patriotic thing to think of yourself as part of something greater. And choosing to spend 4 hours a week volunteering at the Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council, one-on-one with some person who wants to read so that they can maybe get their GED, so that they can have a shot. There it is again. You can be part of that sort of loving, what we want to create, loving communal environment that helps someone like that. On a very personal level, you can be part of that positive thing happening. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council, they need more tutors. They got a waiting list. We don't want them to have a waiting list. We want those people who are motivated to be able to jump right in and learn to read. Give the Literacy Council a phone call at 412-393-7600 or check them out online, gplc.org, Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council, gplc.org.
Get Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
If you give up on the idea that your voice can make a difference, then other voices are going to fill the void. Lobbyists, special interests, the people with the $10 million checks who are trying to buy this election, and those who are making it harder for you to vote, they'll happily fill in the void. If you don't get involved, then Washington politicians and their supporters who want to decide who you can marry or control the health care choices that a woman would want to make for herself, those people will pick up the slack if you surrender your obligations as a citizen. So the president wanted to make that clear. And that's why he said, anything that we've managed to do, I didn't do it, you did it. Any change that happened, it was because of you. And what he was saying is, if I'm not put in or retained by you, then Ain't nothing going to happen. You're as important a part of this process and this challenge as am I, because I can't go anywhere without you. Now, I don't know if Republicans were watching the speeches last night, but you can imagine that there are a lot of Republicans, since some huge percentage of them still think that Barack Obama is not really an American. They also think he's not a Christian. God knows what else they think. I don't know. He's a vampire. I don't know. They might believe this, because I came across this, and this is a report of his speech last night. Dateline, Charlotte, North Carolina. With the savage roar of the heathen Democratic horde rising all around him, President Barack Obama delivered an incendiary speech to close his party's national convention, commanding the ultra-progressive minions in attendance to help him, quote, destroy Jesus and usher in a new age of liberal darkness that shall reign o'er the earth for 1,000 years. The thunderous 45-minute address during which the president argued for a second term so that he could finally kill Jesus once and for all, as well as all those who worship him, was well received by the frenzied, wild-eyed audience whose piercing chants of 4 more years, 4 more years, and slaughter the believers, echoed throughout the Time Warner Cable Arena. My fellow Americans and godless infidels, the president said, I command you to join me as we cast an endless pall of far-left evil across the hills and valleys of this nation. Together as a barbarian people forged by the wicked flames of irreligiosity and united by visions of a liberal dystopia, we will rise up as one to scorch the earth with boundless amorality. The streets shall run red with the blood of forced sodomy performed daily upon every American man, woman, and child. Die, Christians, die. Slamming his fists on the lectern until his hands began to bleed, Obama proceeded to lay out a 3-point plan of sin and lechery for his second term if reelected. The president said he would begin by banning organized religion entirely, starting with Christianity, and burning all churches to the ground, preferably with their wretched Jesus-loving congregants still huddled inside like rats. As members of the audience violently tugged at their genitals and howled like sex-starved atheist wolves, Obama stated that his administration would then seek to make free, taxpayer-funded abortions legal at any stage of pregnancy, even up to 1 full year after birth, in order to supply his newly created federal stem cell harvesting plants with raw materials. In addition, the cackling president vowed to end traditional marriage as we know it by passing legislation that would allow only homosexuals to raise children. A glorious new age of sinister, unconstrained liberalism is dawning. Oh, dear Satan, I can feel it coursing through my veins at this very moment, shrieked Obama, ripping off his shirt to reveal an ornate tattoo of a pentagram with a different homosexual act positioned at each of the star's 5 points. Agnosticism, contempt for human life, and radical sexual experimentation shall rule the day. Any good, virtuous, family, values-oriented Christian Americans who seek to topple our magnificent liberal kingdom of eternal darkness will be powerless to stop us. We will crush them. Thank you. May Satan reward you, and may God tremble in fear at the United States of America. The president was then handed an unbaptized orphaned newborn baby, drenched in the blood of 666 slaughtered Christians, which he handed over to its new gleefully squealing homosexual parents. What's wrong, Jess? That was too much?
What was that from?
Well, come on. What do you mean, where was that from?
Was it from-
I had to get halfway through it before you thought it wasn't real?
No. I just...
It was, where do you think that was from?
Onion.
The Onion. The Onion. That's right. Help us destroy Jesus. The funny thing about that is, I'm telling you that a lot of people, really, a lot of people who think he's a Muslim and that he's evil and that he's the Antichrist or whatever they think, if you were to give them that, they would not for a minute not think it was a legitimate account of what happened. There was one other really, I thought, fascinating thing that happened. Remember, I was talking about how creepy I found it. That whenever the Republican conventioneers finally roused themselves to us, even a little level of trying to get them, they kept trying to whip themselves up. Because they knew that was what conventioneers in the past have done and, wave your banners and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed to me that every time they wanted to or they responded to something, what they did was they'd start that, USA, USA, USA. And I said that when they do that, it sounds so belligerent. It doesn't, to me, sound patriotic. It sounds like, hey, we're the best. And if anyone thinks we're not, come on, come on, come on. I'll knock your teeth down your throat. USA, USA. That's what it sounds like. It does. And I said, you won't hear that at the Democratic Convention. Well, lo and behold, last night, the Democrats started up USA, USA at one point. But here's what was interesting about it. I can't tell you exactly. It was during the president's speech. And he was talking about the can-do spirit, the grit of the American people, and how when faced with adversity, we step up, we get it done, we face challenges, we've done it over and over. And that got the Democrats for a little while saying, USA, USA. And I thought, whoa, now here's a difference. They were saying, we take pride in our people who have grit and determination. It was a totally different sense of what it is when the Republicans do it. When the Republicans do it, it sounds bellicose. It sounds like a call to war. It sounds like the bully on the playground. It sounds like we're great because, hey, we said so. We got more rockets, more bombs, more money than any of you, blah, blah, blah. It sounds so disgusting. So hot doggery. Such lack of cool. If you're so hot, shut up. Because if you're really that good, then you don't need to be so belligerent and or defensive about it. Another thing I noticed, and this speaks to the incredible organization of the Democratic Convention, did you see how the signs that everyone was holding changed? Like every 2 seconds? I mean, when before Biden, all of a sudden the signs are saying, something about, you go Joe, or ready for Joe, or go, and then when the president comes on, they all got signs that say forward, and then they got signs that say something else. I mean, I thought, wow. Coordination. It was coordinated. You heard talking points being repeated from speech to speech, from video to speech. This was a group that had organized and wanted to present itself in a certain way and did so. The Republicans, meanwhile, were all over the place. And you know why? Because they are all over the place. They're not a united party. And frankly, they don't know what they believe in anymore. They just believe in, don't give me taxes. That's all they believe in. I'm just trying to think about... Okay. Jared lets me know, said, thought you might find this tantalizing. They say that NBC News is saying that the Romney, big advertising engine is going back on the air. The states seeing the biggest spending are Virginia, Ohio, and Florida. So those are three, must-win states. And he points out that there is no advertising this quarter, or this round, or whatever, for Romney in Wisconsin, in Michigan, or in Pennsylvania. And what's amazing is that I know with the pick of Paul Ryan that Wisconsin has gone into the, very much a toss-up state. Why they wouldn't be spending money there, I don't know. I have seen other things saying that if Obama takes Ohio and Michigan, it's over. And if that's true, why wouldn't they be going all out in Michigan? Here's another thing that Ed Rendell warned about. He said, be careful with this pulling of the ads out of Pennsylvania. They could be lulling Democrats in Pennsylvania into some level of complacency. Oh, they're not even going to contest. Wow, look, they're not even putting spots up. And then in the last, let's say, week before the election, they can literally pummel us with negative ads in Pennsylvania, in these states that they appear not to be contesting right now. So I know Romney saying, Rendell saying, be wary, be wary. I would not necessarily say that they have pulled or conceded any, like Pennsylvania, or for that matter, Michigan, or for that matter, Wisconsin. What I want to do to end the show today is to do what I do and acknowledging what was said at the Democratic Convention, that we are a nation at war, that there are people wearing our colors, our flag, who are right now dying, being horrendously injured, serving their country. The Republicans found that unworthy of even being noted. The Democrats do not. And so, as I have been, I am reading the names of those Americans who have died in a war we are fighting now in Iraq. For almost 11 years, a war we are fighting. The Department of Defense has identified now 2,093 American service members who have died in the Afghan war. These are the most recent. Jeremy Border, age 28, Staff Sergeant, Army, Mesquite, Texas. Jonathan Schmidt, 28, Staff Sergeant, Army, Petersburg, Virginia. Kyle Rookie, 23, Specialist, Army, Oswego, New York. Sean Carson, 32, Petty Officer, Technician, First Class Navy, Des Moines, Washington. Gregory Copes, 36, Staff Sergeant, Marines, Lynch Station, Virginia. Coder DeBose, 55, Sergeant, First Class, Army, State Line, Mississippi. Michael DeMarcico II, Private, Army, North Adams, Massachusetts. Daryl Enos, 36, Hospital Corpsman, Petty Officer, First Class Navy, Colorado Springs. Richard Essex, 23, Sergeant, Army, Kelseyville, California. Patrick Feeks, 28, Special Warfare Operator, Petty Officer, First Class, Navy, Edgewater, Maryland. Luis Oliver Galbraith, 41, Sergeant, Army, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Brian Hornsby, 37, Chief Warrant Officer, Army, Melbourne, Florida. James Justice, 21, Specialist, Army, Grover, North Carolina. Suresh Kraus, 29, Chief Warrant Officer, Army, Cathedral City, California. David Warson, 27, Special Warfare Operator, Petty Officer, Second Class, Navy, Kentwood, Michigan. Gregory Trent, 38, Master Sergeant, Army, Norton, Massachusetts. Daniel Linnaberry, II, 23, Corporal, Marines, Hubert, North Carolina. Russell R. Bell, 37, First Sergeant, Army, Tyler, Texas. Todd Lambka, 25, First Lieutenant, Army, Fraser, Michigan. Jesus Lopez, 22, Private, Army, San Bernardino. Matthew Sitton, 26, Staff Sergeant, Army, Largo, Florida. Curtis Duarte, 22, Lance Corporal, Marines, Covina, California. Kyle McLean, 25, Specialist, Army, Rochester Hills, Michigan. Jose Oscar Belmontes, 28, Private, Army, Laverne, California. Bobby Esley, 38, Sergeant, First Class, Army, Lebanon, Ohio. Jonathan Gifford, 34, Gunnery Sergeant, Marines, Palm Bay, Florida. Theodore Glendy, 23, Private, Army, Rochester, New York. John Hanson, 41, Sergeant, Army, Austin, Texas. Sean Jacobs, 23, First Lieutenant, Army, Redding, California. Benjamin Pletes, 25, Specialist, Army, Turlock, California. Daniel Price, 27, Gunnery Sergeant, Marines, Holland, Michigan.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.